Camera rolls.
Okay. Hi, guys. Today, I decided to start a podcast. The story about my podcast is simple. I never thought about doing a podcast before the moment where Jungleman, Daniel Cates, my guest of today, told me, I want to interview you for my podcast. And I was like, we both are in Vegas. We shouldn't do that in Skype, right? We should do that in a studio. I know someone who has a studio. So, John, thank you, John, Sticky Paw Studio, proposed me this studio, professional studio, to do the podcast of Daniel Case that should interview me. And I was like, but he just won a bracelet, a fucking World Series bracelet. And it was the same tournament that he won last year, which is insane. We are speaking about like winning 1 million and 1 million again, like 1.5 million the second time. First time was like 1 million also?
Yes, 1 million.
1 million.
900,000.
1 million 100,000 and 1 million 500,000. So I should interview this guy.
Yeah.
That's how my podcast is born now.
Oh, okay.
Nice to meet you, Dan.
Yeah, you too.
I'm very happy to have you. You just won 1.5 million 2 days ago in Las Vegas in the World Series of Poker. You made something that no one made before, I think, the back-to-back of this tournament.
I'm not sure if I thought Brian Rast has done it. I'm not 100% sure.
O'Brien?
Yeah.
Hello, Brian. You're the boss.
I don't know if it's really true or not, but okay, I'll take it either way. Back to back, anything sounds good.
Back-to-back of 50K. It's a 50K buy-in, so they are paying 50K to enter the tournament. They are playing 8 games of poker, which I mostly don't know because I play Texas Hold'em. And I was watching your thing till, I tell you the truth. I fell asleep probably at 5 a.m. and you finish at 6 or something. But I watched 4 hours of it. I watched in the Bobby's room. I was playing in Bobby's room in 100, 200, no limit hold'em. We had your TV, your table on the screens. Everybody was watching. There were 2 tables of no limit, 1 table of mixed game. Mixed game table, they were watching a lot because they know you. You play in the Bobby's room in the higher stakes in Vegas since many years now. How many years you play in Bobby's room?
I guess I played since 2011.
2011. So it's been more than 10 years.
Yeah.
More than 10 years that you play the highest stakes in cash game, in mixed game, and they were all watching. Everybody was watching. We were all wanting you to win. This was insane. You were in Macho Man. This is something you came up with. Like you wanted to do something special for the event. But from the first day you did, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not only from the final table.
Yeah. I was trying to put on a show, and I was supposed to defend my title. So I have to go in and be the Macho Man. And defending a title is more of like a fighter's thing, that's the first thing I thought of. And poker, you'd think it's impossible, right, to defend your title. Or at least that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
And and I just pretended like there was no way that
they can win.
Yeah.
And in fact, there was no way they could win. Oh, there was some way, but
yeah.
You managed. Like many times in the heads up, you were like ahead and then behind, and like one point you were with 4 million sheep and the guy had like 28 million, and I was watching and I was like, no, please. And now I understand the different rules of the game because I watched this stream. So I understood kind of, because I was sitting behind Albert. This is one of your concurrent in those Bobby's Room game, in those cash game, Albert Daher, my friend. And he showed me the different rules of the games. The games are insanely good. And I felt, tell me if I'm wrong or not, I felt that the triple draw no limit and the single draw no limit were your best game against that specific guy.
Well, the no limit single draw was deceptively a good game for me. It appeared. It's really hard to say because I couldn't see the hands that he had, but it looked really a lot like he was too passive and that he was folding. Well, he wasn't folding too much actually, but he was folding too much in the big blind. That I was quite confident of. But on the button, it seemed like he was opening reasonably. And that game's a little bit of a tricky one just because there's not much information on it. Limit deuce to 7. I don't know how he plays enough, but he seemed to play kind of okay. There's not that much of an edge in that game. And it didn't really feel like it went well for me. I'd have to see what he had in all these spots to really judge, because I was sitting there thinking, that this guy's not making that many mistakes, really. But maybe like it felt like he also ran really good for a while. He ran a couple big bluffs, which I was surprised.
Yeah, he's a poker pro from Brazil. He's Yuri. He's very famous in Brazil.
Pretty well from my experience. Felt like a real battle.
Yeah, it was a real battle. Guys, I just go watch the replay somehow. It's on Poker Go, but like it's insane. You're not only famous for those mixed games, you're famous for being one of the most, if not the most strong online no limit player at some point. You were one of the toughest opponents for everybody. No one wanted to play you, right?
Yes. Well, there's a few different evolutions of my game.
Yeah, tell me.
Well, that was for a while. It was just no limit heads up, and then I branched to PLO, and then at some point, a bit too late, in fact, I learned Ring. I wish I had done it sooner, and I wish I had branched out further a bit sooner. These days, yeah, now the opportunities aren't as great, but basically now I'm more of an all-around high-stakes cash game player. I would like to think I'm one of the best, but it's really hard to compare, of course. I mean, now I've got great results at a lot of things, and done this for 14 years and all of that. I mean, that's really all there is to say. I mean, other than that, there's not really exactly much of a record, really. There's more of like a nebulous collective agreement on who's really good at whatever.
Exactly.
In tournaments, it feels like a little bit more agreed upon and more debated if that's something that people are interested in. But yeah, that's roughly what I do for poker anyway, is play some high-stakes cash games.
Yeah. How much do you think you won lifetime in poker?
Well, see, the answer to that question depends on if it's for me or if it's for just aggregate, right? And it depends on how much I actually got paid, because I got stiffed for really an enormous number that it's very upsetting for a bunch of people.
People didn't pay you in some games, right?
Yeah, I have not got paid over $10 million. I can tell you that.
More than 10 million not paid.
No,
how much
excuse
paid?
me. I take that back. I'm thinking about it more in detail now, but that would be like in aggregate, it's actually way more. But in my own personal share, it would be something like somewhere over 5 million that I haven't got paid for, and then all of that. So the answer to your question depends on how we're talking.
So how much you got paid in your career?
How much I got paid?
Like, I mean,
I'm sure it's like 10, 20 million-ish or whatever. I don't know.
Something like that. And a good 25% or 30% was just private games that people didn't settle, right?
It's really impossible to say, because once you get to super high stakes, there's not a wealth of high stakes games to play in. So they're not really, they're not like neatly organized. It's not like there's, 5 501k games and there's 3 1,000, 2,000 games. It's more like there's the occasional 500k game, and then there's, one game that's like 10k, 20k. So it's really hard to say. Yeah, it's really like a bunch of specific situation type of things.
Yeah. What was the moment of your career what was your favorite moment in your career? Like, what was the point where you were like, okay, this is exactly what I wanted as a poker player?
I wouldn't say that it's exactly what I wanted, but it's gone through evolutions as well, even to my surprise. But basically, when I was younger, I always liked to play games, so there's that. And along came poker, where I could play a game for money. And I just thought to myself, it just began with something simple. What if I could just play a game for money and I'd be free and I could do whatever I want? That was the original goal. And then I kind of realized, and then at some point I realized that it in some sense became a bit more of a rat race for me, in the sense of like I couldn't play higher and I couldn't do something else with it. And then I realized that I wanted to do something with a bit of a purpose to it. And like part of the idea behind winning was that there was a purpose to it. But then all of a sudden, like, I didn't really care about winning anymore, if that made sense, or winning poker tournaments in the traditional sense, or winning more amounts of money. There was no difference between like 10 and 15 million, like whatever. I would just be the same person, having made that money, or even like 3 and the 10 million, right? There's not that much of a difference that changes your life. And at some point, I kind of realized that, wait, why is money even the end goal? And I started slowly switching from that to what about what would the end goal mean? And I aligned the meaning with like positive impact made, and more, yeah, meaning more with impact, you could say. And this took like a bit of a spiritual turn. And at some point, it got me back into poker, almost paradoxically, because I started to realize that, wait a second, what I really value is actually these virtues that are embodied through poker in many different ways. And if I could make more of those through positive impact, that would make my life feel more meaningful. And money would come as a result. But like whatever, it didn't give me much satisfaction to make money. But then I slowly realized that poker actually embodies a lot of good virtues. Like it embodies a lot of American virtues, in fact, such as freedom to do whatever you want. It embodies like this American dream of, if you work hard and you apply yourself properly, you can like be free and all of that. It also embodies a lot of life principles. If you look closely, at least they're rewarded subtly in poker. Like humility is rewarded subtly in poker. Being entertaining is rewarded subtly. Being positive in a certain way, like hope. Many of these different things. And let me think. For a second. But in particular, poker rewards pursuing the truth the most, which, especially these days, people like conflate and use the truth for all sorts of personal agendas. It's one of these like power manipulation plays for the sake of greed. And one important value of mine is pursuing truth and being truthful. I want to brand myself more and more according to that. In fact, I at this moment in time, I have some fake followers on Instagram. I decided I'm just going to remove them, not play that kind of game, essentially, and just decide, okay, I'm just going to represent one things for what they actually are, basically, unless it's for the sake of like production, again, or like something like that.
Yeah,
But
I like the truth subject. I like the I agree. Like poker is reward truth. Yeah, that's I couldn't put words on what you definitely put good. Like it's very good explanation about like poker and what it brings. Like yeah. So eventually, so you came back to poker like recently, because like there was this period where you were like finding yourself, like defining a bit what you really wanted, right? There was this period where we were seeing you with a bunch of women on the Instagram.
oh yeah.
Yeah. So that was the period where you were playing well less, right?
Playing what?
Well less. Less poker. Less.
Uh,
Just less volume.
Not exactly. It was more like a little bit after. Yeah, I'm not. I would say that definitely the lifestyle that I portrayed in those videos and stuff. I think I and everyone kind of eventually came to the conclusion like that's fun, but we wouldn't be able to live like that way all the time. For sure, I couldn't. I would have gone insane. Yeah, I mean, I'll party every now and then, but it's not my. I wouldn't say I'm exactly the party guy. Are you?
I'm a mix, yeah. I'm a mix. I have my periods. I have periods. There is the periods where I want to party and I want to. Yeah, I have like many. Like actually, I think in real life, outside of poker, most of my friends are female. So that's one of the things. So I related of what you were posting. You were posting some content with girls and everything, but that you did even a clip, like a video clip and stuff. That was really like high end, actually. Like I don't know what was the goal at that moment. Maybe it was like, I don't know, like what was the goal for you at that moment when you did that video clip where Like I invite you to see that clip. It's still on YouTube, right?
Oh,
It's
I,
nice
I would
actually.
actually rather take it down. Is the funny thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, these days I'm deciding not to go in that direction. I don't think the video clip is really. This is not the direction I'm particularly aiming to go. Let's just put it like that. I've decided I'm not gonna like be this crazy playboy.
Anymore.
No, I mean
But it's
that period is
interesting
very
to
brief.
it's interesting to know why.
Why? A couple of reasons why. First of all, in I don't have time for well, how do I explain? Okay, so a big reason why I was doing that was for the women, but I don't have time for like all these girls, and I find that these kinds of relationships are not very generally speaking, they're not very rewarding, I guess you could say. And
For the time you invest in it.
yeah, and they tend to push away the opposite kinds of girls, which I'd prefer to generally
Avoid.
No, the opposite kinds of girls, the girls that are more serious
Oh, okay.
and looking for a relationship or something, or yeah, just something more serious and like a relationship that's beneficial in ways that aren't just like having sex, etc.
Yeah.
And partying.
Yeah.
Which is I don't want to push those girls away. So I'd rather, I'd rather focus more on things that, just different things basically. Because I couldn't live as like the party guy. Let's put it that way. And I'd rather do things that have more meaning to myself.
Example, you go often in Africa and you do stuff there.
Yeah, but I don't see anything wrong with like partying every now and
No.
then. Like no one's like 100% one way or the other, really.
Exactly.
Or most people aren't.
You assume some part of you that many people would not assume, basically.
Yeah.
So today you are
there's also-
like a lot of. I want to ask about all those trips because I follow your stories and you are often in Africa,
Uh-huh.
and I know you do charity and what kind and how it is and what do you do exactly?
So the whole charity topic is a bit complicated, but at the moment, I am focusing on providing fresh water and more specifically on children's education. That's where I believe the biggest impact is possible.
Okay.
Helping children, but primarily educating children with the right kinds of values, like the same values we talked about in poker, but also being a good person as well. More on that subject. I mean, it's a bit of a deep subject. I want to create some charity trips at some point that would be like a fun experience for many different people to travel to these countries and, just have like a bit of an adventure and also do a little bit of good too. I think that could be a cool thing. I'm a bit too busy now, but we'll look into that later.
Sounds good. Many people in poker fear playing with you. I notice it because, for example, I had this game running in Cyprus, and when you were not playing at that moment, and I saw you in the lobby, and I was like, I want you to play with us,
Mm-hmm.
So I make you play with us. I add a 9 chair, and we were playing in 8. And I remember many people talk to me after it and say, you should have not do that. He's like so good and everything. It's not good to play with him. And I'm like, should I care? Or do I fear someone? Or am I playing heads up against him? Yeah, of course, maybe it's going to reduce a bit my EV, but is it like all about EV or is it like having like a mix between fun and I don't know, like maybe learn something from someone that play good. So I have more this mentality. That mentality than many other pros. And I wanted to know what is your experience with that. Is it like something? Do you get like often invited in private games? Do you often get I don't know, like people fear to play with you and just like try to make you go out of this game or make you like literally like how do you say, exclude you from the game, from some games? What is your experience with that last few years in live?
I can say that it has been quite difficult to get into these private games, but also I think it's a bit of a mixed bag. I've heard all sorts of stories of people not getting paid and
I mean,
high
like
rake.
I
And
speak even about games in casino, like because many games nowadays are private inside casinos where
those
people
ones
pay.
are those ones are probably pretty good.
Yeah,
It's going to be like really a hustle to get into those. I think people are overly cautious of how big a top player's edge is, just because it's not so much. I mean, if you look at where the money actually comes from and goes, yes, the top player gets quite a lot of money, but it's more important like what VIPs are in the game. As an example, from a purely profit perspective, it would make sense to invite a top player and a fish, which is what they do, or VIP, or whatever you want to call them. Um, or particularly like not even like that big of a fish, but a really big fish would be worth a lot more than a top player would be bad, if that makes sense. That's just how it works in poker. Like if someone's playing every single hand in poker, they can't win, and a top player loses all the time. To put it in one perspective, but I've had quite some issues. Generally speaking, it's like a special circumstance where I get to play these sorts of things, and yeah, most people aren't exactly looking they're looking to win. They're not looking to learn or to, they're looking a bit to be entertained, but you have to be like really, really entertaining in order for them to overcome or do people the right favors. It would be really what you have to do to overcome we're going to lose money to this guy kind of thing. It's hard to like overcome being more interesting than money, if you know what I mean, generally speaking, at high stakes.
yeah, yeah. That's something. That's a shame, actually. That's a shame. Like, many high stakes nowadays are difficult to play. Many games are difficult to play because of those reasons like that you mentioned. What do you think the future of high stakes poker will be? Like let's say the next 20 years, like in cash games.
I think a lot of games will be more private. I think there will be a lot of tournaments. I think there will definitely be a lot of tournaments. I think there will be more cash games in other countries, actually. I think other areas of
Yeah,
the world will open up. Maybe India. There's some stuff going on in India.
maybe Dubai.
Yeah.
Casinos are opening in Dubai.
Yeah, I don't think. I think it's just more interesting. Like, is it one thing that has interested me? I can't see that gambling is a bad thing. It's just a funny thing. It's like a way of it. One thing about gambling is that it's a way of like, it's like in some ways it's a faster way of discovering yourself, if that makes sense. You can look at that like that. I mean,
Yeah,
poker.
I understand
can be,
myself way more since I play poker.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I want to ask you about that. I'm curious, but perhaps we should wait
In your
until
podcast.
later.
Yeah. I put the link of your podcast below because you interview me in your podcast. So.
Yeah.
Winning the game of life. That's the name of your podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Because you want to interview people who won in the game of life, kind of, right? You did that already.
That's it's part of the point. It's also it's like winning in some capacity, as long as it's something that's in like a moral way and that kind of thing. It's more like I want to champion the virtues that led to people being successful, but the definition of success depends per person. I primarily want to bring light to the virtues that lead towards success, not just in money, but also in terms of like actually getting what someone actually wants in life. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, that's why you interview not only poker players, but also people who are in different areas of.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw like.
It's one reason, yes.
There was the interview of Ninja, which is you did interview the most famous lifetime Twitch streamer.
Mm-hmm.
What do you learn from the people who are not in poker that you frequent? Thanks to poker, thanks to your career, you frequent people that are successful in life and not only professional poker players. What did you learn the most from those relations?
Oh, a big realization. I was just thinking about this recently. That a lot of poker players are very insular in the sense of it's a common thing of people who over intellectualize or rely on their intelligence to succeed, is they look at things too much from the lens of what is right and wrong, or too much in the lens of judging in these kinds of ways. There's a subtle point, and that there's value to a lot of these things that aren't necessarily like 100% logical, in the sense of like following the strict rational perspective, um, or like being boxed in this rational perspective. I think that's one of the biggest things, is that there's all sorts of values, and it's sometimes being too rational or too constrained to that is a weakness in a way, but it's important to like have that as a bit of a backbone, if that makes sense. Have logic as a bit of a backbone, more like a guidance, in the sense of like, okay, we're going somewhere in life, we're going up like a staircase, but then use logic as like the rails to the staircase, if that makes sense. But you don't always like, you don't hold really tightly onto the rails of the staircase in life. Then you're like a coward, actually, in a sense. But you just use them gradually, or you like,
Yeah.
you don't really know what's going. You don't want to fall off. you don't want to, you don't want to trip, but you want to like, just don't be too constrained to logic. Let's put it that way.
I have many professional poker players or people who are becoming professional poker player on their way. They are on their way. They are watching this podcast because they want to follow my journey. They want to follow your journey. We don't have the same journey, but what would be the advices that you would give to those semi-pros or people who are on the way to become, like, to make a living out of poker? They really want it, and they really put the efforts to do so. What are your best advices for them?
So
It's very general, I know.
if they really want to, I would say they should learn from other people who've already succeeded. They should look up the resources. They should study poker. They should, just keep thinking about every little detail of the game, basically, and be obsessed. If that's their goal, is to succeed at poker.
Yeah. One of the things that makes you more successful than other players, what are the things that made you be more successful than most of the players?
I think a big one was pursuing what the truth was. I think a lot of that is kind of implied through something like logic, and I feel like it's a little bit understated. That was very helpful. Having a very open-minded, being a bit open-minded towards the possibility that was wrong in many circumstances. There's a few barriers. It's a hard thing to measure, but definitely being too close-minded is a great way to be stuck in various, not only poker downswings, life downswings too, because there's all sorts of parallels in this one in life. There's non-stop examples of how people just think in the same pattern and they just can't see behind it, and it causes them a lot of pain, and they just don't know how to change by like not looking at things from another perspective. It happens all the time in social dynamics from what I see, and in all sorts of things. It's like people can't get around their own bullshit, and if you can't get around your own bullshit in poker, you're really gonna struggle. Basically, the only way to solve that is to look at things from different perspectives and to like really consider the possibility that you're not always right. Let's see, what else? Very persistent. You need to be really, really persistent in poker. It's a combination of those things, I would say.
Yeah.
But being open-minded is also an important attribute of pursuing the truth. There's something called Cartesian doubt, which is, in order to pursue the truth, you have to actually experience extreme doubt, if that makes sense. The more you pursue truth, the more you have to like kind of be able to embrace this doubt, because doubt is representative of like the opposite of truth. It's kind of like, okay, we have to check all the other perspectives and see which ones remain, and that's what truth is. It's like the difference between, I think it's quite similar to the difference between light and darkness.
Very nice way to put it in image. We are arriving at the end of the interview. I want to do a quick thing that I will do with all my guests now. I will improvise it because I didn't. The idea of interviewing you came just now, so literally I'm gonna improvise it. I'm gonna go like very quick questions, like maybe like favorite destination.
I don't know.
Just like answer quick the first thing that come in mind.
Australia.
Australia. Favorite poker player, except you.
Gus Hansen.
Gus Hansen. Favorite casino to play.
Aria.
Aria in Las Vegas. Favorite dish.
Favorite dish. I really like these taro smoothies with the boba.
Okay. Your favorite. Your favorite format between all the poker format that exists.
I like mixed games.
Live mixed game or online mixed game?
I mean, I think I would like online a little bit more.
Okay. That's good. Thank you for being present here.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to do your podcast now. Check the link below. It's going to be the podcast where Daniel interviewed me in the Winning the Game of Life on his channel. He has so many interviews of different poker players and people outside of poker. You should check it out. There is also Liv Bowie I saw and like Phil Hellmuth and like some Dan Smith I think also.
Mm-hmm.
Like many people you should check out that are very interesting. Thank you, Dan.
Mm-hmm.
Jungleman, the boss. See you, bro.
Oh, and I forgot to mention